You were steady, the man who stayed, the one who didn't flinch when she unraveled. You held it all, her moods, her doubts, her silence. You thought love meant being needed, so you gave without asking, without resting, without being seen. But here's the part no one talks about. When you become her comfort, you stop being her desire, because the man who's always available is rarely the one she feels alive around. This video is for the man who's tired of bleeding quietly, tired of giving more than he receives, tired of being the emotional shelter, but never the home. You keep finding yourself in the same story, overgiving, overlooked, and slowly disappearing in the name of love. But this ends now. We're going to break down 7 mindset shifts that pull you out of the role you never asked to play and bring you back to the man you were before you tried to earn what should have met you halfway. This isn't about hardness, it's about clarity. It's not about closing your heart, it's about protecting your peace. Comment below. I don't beg to be seen, I choose to be whole. Number 1, you were her stability, not her storm. She curled up in your quiet, but ran toward the noise. There's a silence you've been sitting in since she left. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of being emptied. You held her when the world was too much. You were the rock, the calm, the one she could lean into when the storms inside her grew louder than the world outside. And for a while, that felt like love. It felt like being chosen. But here's the truth. That stings with a quiet kind of betrayal. She came to you when she was tired of drowning, but she didn't stay to learn how to breathe. And you mistook that desperation for depth. You saw her need and thought it was love. You thought being her sanctuary meant you were her forever. You thought your stillness would be enough. But she wasn't looking for stillness. She was only looking for somewhere to rest between storms. You were the calm between her chaos, not the end of it. See, a lot of men get caught here. You give her peace, and it feels righteous, noble, like the right kind of love, and maybe it was. Maybe you really did love her the right way, but that doesn't mean she was ready for it, because some people don't know how to live without the noise. Some people don't know who they are without the drama. And when you strip it all away, the tension, the highs, the crashes, they feel nothing. And they confuse that emptiness with boredom, so they go looking for the fire again, even if it burns them, even if it hurts you. But you need to hear this. Her leaving had nothing to do with you not being enough. You were just too steady for someone who confuses intensity with intimacy. She wasn't built for quiet love. Not yet. You weren't too calm. She was addicted to chaos. That's not a flaw in your character. That's clarity. You gave her the thing she never knew how to hold, peace, and when she dropped it, you thought it meant you were lacking. But brother, listen closely. Some people crave storms because they've never learned to trust the sky when it's clear. Some people run from calm because they can't hear themselves in silence. It's not your job to be the thunder just so she'll stay. This is where the power comes back, in not chasing, in not trying to be more dramatic, more exciting, more loud. You are not here to entertain someone else's instability. You are not a performance. You are the ground beneath the performance, and if she couldn't see the value in that, let her keep chasing lightning, because the kind of woman who's ready for peace, she won't confuse your steadiness with dullness. She'll recognize it as strength, and she'll bring her own stillness too. So here's your final truth. Let her go to the noise. Let her chase the drama. You stay where you are, in your silence, in your calm, in your strength, because you weren't too stable. You were just never meant to be her storm. Number 2, you paid in energy, she collected in emotion. You gave and gave, thinking love would grow, but all she learned was how to take. Let me ask you something. Quietly, honestly, without the noise. Have you ever felt exhausted? Not from work, not from life, but from loving someone who made you feel like it was never enough. You kept showing up. You kept proving your worth. You thought that if you were just more consistent, more available, more patient, she'd see you, really see you. You thought love was something you could build with effort, that if you paid enough into it, time, attention, care, planning, showing up, it would one day pay you back. But it didn't, because you weren't loving a person. You were trying to maintain a system where your energy became currency, and her approval was the reward you kept chasing. This is a pattern too many men fall into. You mistake doing for being. You lead with effort. The texts, the check-ins, the constant emotional availability. You believe your consistency will wear down her confusion, that your presence will tame her distance. But what you don't see is this: when love becomes a transaction, someone is always paying more, and most of the time it's you. You start to notice it quietly, not at first, but later in the small silences. She doesn't ask how you're doing. She doesn't notice your tired eyes. She only comes, close when she needs the warmth, when her mood dips, when her world collapses. Then you become the emotional sponge, the one who listens, who reassures, who fixes, and in return, she gives you just enough affection to keep you hopeful, a kiss when she's in the mood, a compliment when she needs to soften the withdrawal, but never the kind of love that fills you, never the kind that matches your giving. Why? Because when you lead with effort instead of essence, you attract people who fall in love with the function, not the soul. She loved how you made her feel, but she never paused to learn who you are. And you, in your desire to be chosen, gave her everything, without ever asking if she was giving anything back, because deep down you believed you had to earn love. That being needed was close enough to being wanted. But listen, brother, there is no power in performance. There is no respect in always being available. True love isn't something you win with emotional labor. It's something that sees you and chooses you without negotiation. A woman who truly loves you won't let you keep bleeding energy just to maintain her interest. She won't drain your strength just to feed her emotional hunger. She'll meet you halfway, not just with words, but with effort, with presence, with real care. And if she didn't, then let that be your awakening, not your shame. You gave endlessly to someone who only knew how to take. You became the giver, the fixer, the emotional support system. But you are not a battery to be drained. You are not a resource to be mined. You are a man. You are presence, not performance. You are value, not validation. So here's your moment of power. Stop measuring love by how much you give. Start noticing who gives back. Stop confusing effort with intimacy. Start asking yourself, does she see me, or does she just use me to feel better about herself? Because your energy is sacred, your time is sacred, your love is sacred, and if she couldn't honor it, let her go. Let her collect her emotions elsewhere, because from now on, you give only where you are met. You show up only where your presence is seen, not just your usefulness. You don't pay for love anymore. You stand in it. Number 3, you were her therapist, not her man. She talked and you listened like love, but it was never about you. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being with someone who never really looked at you, not deeply, not fully, just long enough to spill everything onto you, and then walk away lighter. You didn't realize it at first, the nights you stayed up listening to her stories, her spirals, her wounds, the way she'd fall apart and you'd gently hold the pieces, not in your hands, but in your chest. You thought that was love, that being her witness meant you were her man. But slowly, quietly, something shifted. She started to see you not as a partner, but as a container, a place to unload, a quiet, reliable space to process her emotions, without ever asking about yours. And you adapted. You made space, you muted your needs so she could find her voice. You stopped being seen, so she could feel seen. It wasn't malicious, but it was hollowing, because somewhere along the way your role changed, from lover to listener, from man to mirror. And once you became her emotional processing tool, something in the romantic connection started to die. Not because you did something wrong, but because no one fantasizes about their therapist. Here's the truth. Most men won't say out loud, you were there for her in every way she needed, except as a man she desired. She cried to you, vented to you, confided in you, but she stopped leaning in with softness, stopped reaching for you with want, because she didn't see you like that anymore. You weren't her mystery. You weren't her polarity. You were the safe space she came to purge the weight of her own chaos, and that's what hurts the most, isn't it? That in trying to be her anchor, you lost your own footing. You gave her a sense of safety, and in return, she gave you distance. Not because you were weak, but because you forgot that emotional support is not the same as emotional connection. And the moment a woman sees you as her therapist, her emotional handyman, her ever-available processing tool, she stops seeing you as her man. This is where the Stoic truth cuts in. You are not here to rescue broken spirits. You are here to walk beside healed ones. You are not here to fix, to absorb, to endlessly counsel. You are here to be witnessed, to be desired, to be met in your full masculine presence, not diluted into silence for someone else's therapy session. And if she couldn't meet you there, if she only ever poured her storms into you, but never asked about your sky, then brother, that wasn't love. That was labor. You weren't held. You were used, gently, perhaps lovingly at times, but used nonetheless. And now, you're left wondering why you're so tired, so invisible, so emotionally bankrupt. It's because you gave your whole self and got crumbs of connection in return. So what now? Now you reclaim your presence. You stop over-functioning in hopes of being loved. You stop muting yourself for the sake of keeping her calm. You remember that a man is not meant to be her savior. He is meant to be her equal, the kind of woman who's ready for that. She won't treat your presence like a free counseling session. She won't drain you to feel full. She'll bring her own healing. She'll sit in your silence. She'll ask how you are, and actually wait for the answer. So here's your final truth, carved in stillness. You became the listener when you were meant to be seen, and now you walk away, not in anger but in dignity, because you're no one's therapist. You're a man, and you deserve to be felt, not just useful. Number 4, you were predictable, so she stopped seeing you. You were always there, and somehow that made you disappear. There's a particular kind of ache that doesn't scream. It lingers, a quiet pain, buried in the question. How could she leave when you did everything right? You were consistent, present, dependable. You showed up every time. You answered the calls, remembered the details, kept your promises. You made plans. You were the steady rhythm in the chaos of her world. And still, she drifted. At first, it didn't make sense. How does someone walk away from safety? How do they stop appreciating the very thing they once said they'd always wanted? But here's the truth most men never see until it's too late. Predictability without presence becomes invisibility. You became so reliable, so expected, so routine that she stopped noticing you altogether. You thought you were being a good man, and you were. But in her eyes, you became the background, like the steady hum of an air conditioner in a quiet room, always there, always working, but no longer felt. She stopped feeling you because she stopped looking for you, because she thought you'd never leave. Because she mistook your presence for permanence, and you, in your steadiness, slowly disappeared. It's not that you weren't valuable, it's that she stopped knowing how to value you. This is the pattern. You became the routine, the safe. Of course he'll do that, guy. And somewhere along the way, the gravity of your presence got replaced by the comfort of your predictability. It's a quiet slide. You start by giving everything, love, attention, energy, not because you're weak, but because you think that's what love does. And when she doesn't meet you with the same intensity, you tell yourself to be more patient, more calm, more consistent. But in trying to be the man who never falters, you stop being the man who could be felt. That's the illusion, that showing up the same way every day will deepen connection. But for someone who doesn't know how to see clearly, routine breeds blindness. She didn't outgrow you. She never truly saw you. Not the you behind the gestures, not the man behind the actions. And it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now to remember this. Your value isn't in how available you are, it's in how centered you remain. A man grounded in himself doesn't need to perform consistency to be worthy. He simply is. He carries a presence that doesn't fade into routine because he doesn't rely on her recognition to feel seen. He sees himself. Stoicism teaches us that peace is found not in being noticed, but in being undisturbed by whether you are or not. And love, real love, is not found in being predictable. It's found in being felt, in being there without losing yourself. So what now? You stop shrinking yourself into habits just to be kept. You stop mistaking loyalty for invisibility, and you start standing in your fullness again, not loud, but undeniable. You are not here to be her background. You are not here to be taken for granted. You are here to be seen. By her, yes, but first by you. So here's the still, quiet truth you take with you. You did everything right. And still she left, not because you weren't enough, but because she stopped looking. Let that be her lesson to learn, not yours to carry. You remain grounded, present, centered, undeniable, not predictable, but unforgettable. Number 5, you wanted to earn her heart. She wanted to feel the risk. You gave her the future, but she was still chasing echoes. Here's a question you've probably never spoken out loud, but it's one you felt in the hollow of your chest. Why wasn't your loyalty enough? You showed her you were safe, that you weren't going to leave, that you would stand by her side through confusion, through hesitation, through her unfinished healing. You offered her consistency, transparency, and a vision of the future that had room for both of you, and yet she pulled away. And the ache of that. It's not loud, it's not explosive, it's slow. A betrayal without drama. She simply stopped leaning in. She chose distance, even when you chose devotion. Because deep down, you were trying to earn her heart. You were trying to prove that you were different, that you were good, that you were steady. But what you didn't see, what most men don't, is that loyalty alone doesn't light the fire, that safety doesn't always equal attraction, and that love, real love, cannot be earned like a reward for effort. You were building a foundation. She was still wandering through ruins. You were facing forward. She was looking backward. And that's where the pain lives. In the gap between what you gave and what she could even hold. You weren't too much. You were just too real for someone still fantasizing about what she never actually had. She wasn't ready for certainty because it left no room for her familiar chaos. Here's the psychology of it. When a man tries to win love through loyalty, through planning, through showing he's the one, he unconsciously steps into the pursuer role. And when a woman hasn't healed, when she still finds emotional gravity in confusion, in danger, in inconsistency, she doesn't respond to safety with connection. She responds with distance, because safety to her feels flat, and flat feels boring, not because you're boring, but because she's wired for unpredictability. And you were too clear. You thought loyalty was the key, but what ignites attraction isn't proof, it's polarity. The masculine offers stillness, direction, presence. But the feminine, when wounded, often confuses stability for control. She needs to feel, and if she hasn't learned to feel through truth, she'll chase feeling through tension. So there you were, offering her everything you thought love required, the open heart, the future plans, the unwavering support, and she couldn't feel the spark because she was addicted to the flicker. But brother, hear this, that's not your failure, that's your awakening. You were not too safe. You were just incompatible with someone who hasn't learned to breathe without emotional chaos. She didn't want to be seen. She wanted to be chased. She didn't want the man who stood still in truth. She wanted the one who kept her guessing. And when love becomes a guessing game, that's not a woman you win. That's a pattern you walk away from. Because Stoic wisdom teaches us, love doesn't bloom in control, nor in confusion. It blooms in mutual truth, in two people who see each other clearly, who meet each other fully, not because they're trying to win something, but because they already are something, whole, aligned, ready. So no, you weren't rejected because you weren't exciting. You were rejected because you were real, because you offered the future to someone still dancing with their past. Let that burn away the lie. Let it carve space for your power, because your heart is not a prize to be earned through emotional labor. It's a fire that deserves to be met with fire. So here's the quiet, cutting truth. She didn't leave because you weren't worthy. She left because you were, and she wasn't ready to stand in the light you brought. You don't need to earn love. You just need to stop offering it to people still addicted to pain. Number 6, you were the anchor. While she searched for the wind, you built the harbor, but she missed the feeling of being lost at sea. Let me ask you something you've probably only whispered in your head. Why do they always leave when things finally feel calm? You gave her peace. You were the anchor, the place her heart could land when the noise of the world became too much. You built something real, planned the future, held her with steady hands and quiet eyes. And you thought, this is what love is, safe, strong, clear. But then she started to drift, not all at once. But slowly, the spark dimmed, the warmth cooled, the conversations became thin, and you were left standing in the same place while she reached for the wind. That's the part that doesn't make sense, right? You didn't break anything. You didn't change. You stayed solid, rooted, loyal, but it wasn't enough. And it's not because you failed, it's because peace feels like a prison. To someone who's only ever known chaos as home, there are people in this world who confuse stillness with stagnation, not because they're shallow, but because their nervous system has been wired to chase what hurts, to feel alive only in the volatility, only in the storm. So when you offered her calm, when you brought her close and said, "Here, rest," she panicked, not on the outside, not with words, but somewhere deep inside, where the ghosts still whisper, where the storms still sound like love. You weren't too grounded. She was too untethered, and that's a hard truth to swallow. I know, because you thought giving her stability would heal her, that if you held her long enough she'd stop running, that if you showed her peace, she'd finally choose it. But you can't convince someone to stay where they don't feel themselves. You can't anchor a soul that still believes the wind is freedom, and no amount of your certainty will soften the chaos inside someone who hasn't learned to sit with stillness. You see, she didn't reject you. She rejected the mirror you held up, because you reflected back a life without the drama, a life without the endless high and crash of emotional volatility. And without that, she didn't know who she was. That's the psychology of it. When someone has only experienced love through emotional storms, they mistake peace for disconnection, security for suffocation. They crave movement, even if it's just motion without meaning. So she looked for the wind, while you stayed rooted. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you powerful. Because the man who stands still while others run, the man who doesn't chase chaos to feel loved, the man who offers calm without needing to be loud, that man is rare. Stoic philosophy tells us, peace isn't something you give someone else. It's something you live so deeply that they either rise to meet it or drift away. You stayed rooted, and that is your strength, because some men lose themselves trying to be the wind. They become unpredictable, reactive, chaotic, just to be felt by someone addicted to the storm. But you held your ground, and in doing so, you gave her the chance to rise or run. She ran. Let that be her journey. Your job isn't to become more chaotic to keep someone entertained. Your job isn't to shrink your steadiness into something more exciting. Your job is to stay true to your nature. You are the anchor, and that doesn't make you boring. That makes you rare. So here's your truth, not loud, but final. You didn't lose her because you were too calm. You lost her because she couldn't yet breathe in stillness. She's chasing storms. You're becoming the sky. Let her run. You stay grounded, because one day, the right woman will look at your calm and say, "I've been searching for this my whole life." Number 7, you were the provider because you were afraid to be wanted. You gave her everything, hoping it would make you enough. There's a silence you carry that no one else sees. A silence built not from what she took, but from everything you gave. Without ever being asked, you were the provider, the giver, the fixer, the one who always showed up first. You paid, you planned, you stayed 2 steps ahead, hoping she'd never see the quiet fear underneath it all. The fear that if you stopped doing, you'd stop being enough. Somewhere deep inside you, beneath the calm surface and the collected face, you believed that love had to be earned. That you as you are, still simple human, wasn't quite worthy yet, so you made yourself useful, essential. You tried to outgive the doubt in your chest. If she needed something, you provided it. If she wanted comfort, you created it. If she broke down, you picked up the pieces, even when yours were scattered on the floor. But here's the truth most men don't dare admit. You didn't give from overflow. You gave from fear, because if you stopped giving, what would keep her there? It's the illusion we're taught, that masculinity means provision, that your value is in what you can offer, not in who you are. So you kept offering, and in doing so, you slowly disappeared. She didn't fall in love with you. She fell in love with the function, with what you did for her, and maybe at times she tried to reciprocate. But the weight of the dynamic was always tilted. You were always holding it up. The psychology behind this is deeper than just relationships. It's about the boy inside the man, the boy who learned early that affection had to be earned, that praise came after performance, that silence came when you asked for too much. So you trained yourself to give before you asked, to serve before you spoke, to earn before you dared to be loved. And now you're tired, not just physically, soul tired, because you've been playing a role for so long, you forgot what it feels like to just exist in the presence of someone who sees you and wants you without needing anything from you. That's where Stoic philosophy offers you a sharp and grounding truth. You don't have to perform to be powerful. You don't have to prove your worth by bleeding yourself dry. A man who knows his value doesn't rush to give. He chooses when to offer, not from fear, from fullness, because your power isn't in your usefulness, it's in your presence. You've been trying to buy love with emotional currency, trying to build security with acts of service, trying to earn someone who didn't even know how to value themselves, let alone value you. You were trying to prove worth to someone who couldn't even see their own, and that's the root of it all. You gave her everything because you didn't believe your stillness was enough, but it is. Let that settle in. You don't have to give to be loved. You don't have to serve to be wanted. You don't have to fix everything to feel safe. You are allowed to rest, to receive, to be still, and still be seen. So here's your final truth, the quiet, sharp, and liberating. You were never unlovable. You were just hiding behind the giving, afraid to be witnessed in your stillness. But now, you stop hiding. Now you strip away the performance. Now you offer nothing except yourself, and the right one will see you, not for what you provide, but for who you are. Brother, you've carried weight that was never yours to hold. You tried to fix what wasn't broken, not in her, but in the story you told yourself, that if you just gave more, she'd stay. That if you were calm enough, kind enough, strong enough, love would anchor itself. But now you see it. You see the truth not as something cruel, but as something cleansing. She didn't leave because you lacked. She left because you stood still, and she was always chasing the wind. And you don't chase anymore. You don't shrink to be chosen. You don't overextend to be enough, because now you understand real love doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. It meets you in stillness. It recognizes your peace as power. It doesn't mistake your calm for weakness. It holds you without needing to be rescued. You've outgrown the version of you who begged to be seen. You've stepped into the man who sees himself quietly, fully, without apology. Let this be your new rhythm. You walk slowly. You speak with presence. You give only from overflow. And you never again perform just to be loved. So when she leaves, let her. When the silence comes, feel it. And when your worth speaks from within, listen, because you, brother, you are not who you used to be. Comment below, I am done giving my peace to be loved. Subscribe if you're done proving yourself and ready to return to yourself. This is your healing, quiet, unshakable, yours.